Welcome back to the Pro Football Pod. We are bringing you the Week 12 quarterbacks, wide receivers. Make sure you stop by on Friday. We're going to do a live show just for you guys, answer all your questions. See you then. But before we do that, let's get right to it. We got some Thanksgiving games. Is this your guys' favorite week of football because of getting the Thursday 3 games during Thanksgiving, and now there's
games all day.
There's
now
another
a Friday
one on,
game.
I mean, if there was a Saturday game, it could have been just
College
nonstop
football on Saturday.
I mean, whatever. We'll take it, I guess.
You got football for 4 straight days.
No one's going to be watching the Friday game.
5.
We'll all be shopping.
You got Monday night too. You got 5 straight days of football.
Dude, that's some good time right there.
That has to be the best time of the year.
I mean, there's Christmas too, and we're gonna get some Christmas football too. Now we got Green Bay 7.5 points that they're getting because Detroit Lions are the favorite. That feels so good to say. 8-2 for the first time since like 1960. I think JFK was in administration the last time that the Lions were this good.
I think since, we kind of have decided we're no longer a Commanders pod because we've either cursed them or they just, once you get beat by the Giants.
You don't want to curse the Lions, though, do you?
They're doing so good. I don't think it's a curse to the Lions.
I don't think it's us either. I think it's them.
Because if you go to Commanders' Twitter, apparently they don't like playing in the black jerseys. Like, they think the black jerseys are cursed.
Oh, they're the sickest ones.
They are clean. But no, I mean, we always ride for Dan Campbell. We love Dan the man. Like, we might think about shifting towards a Motor City pod. But
let's answer some questions first. Do you guys think that Green Bay keeps this within a touchdown, or that the Lions offense in Detroit on Thanksgiving? Oh boy. Amon-Ra got a little bit banged up, but came right back into the game because he's the hardest working wide receiver in the NFL. I love Detroit. So, Austin, what about you?
I love Detroit.
Show the people.
Let's go.
There we go. So,
Michigan
46.5 over. I hope so. I hope so. 12
awesome.
o'clock on Thanksgiving. Nice 50-point game. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. I'm going to be making money early in the day. It's going to be a great day.
And even though it's a Thursday game, again, this is big prime time. Like, this is not a regular Thursday. This is Thanksgiving. It matters for both of these teams. The Lions are always in it. Green Bay's been in it enough, and it's their first time in it without Aaron. So I know Jordan Love wants his opportunity to shine. I think that we could see Jordan Love impress us. And even though Detroit's got this great defense, they've been struggling at times. They've been getting a couple turnovers and making some big stops, but then giving up huge point totals to other teams. So we could see a big shootout.
They're a solid defense, but they're not a great defense. They're not shutting people down. I can't think of a team that they've shut down. So, like, they're going to allow points. They're going to allow yards. Like, for fantasy, for betting, should be electric for that first game. Probably the best game out of the 3.
Now, talking about a team that just been shutting people down, Washington Commanders, one of the worst teams, has to go against one of the worst team killers, and the Dallas Cowboys. They're favored by 10.5 points.
They robbed us of being able to talk about how this game should be like a sneaky game for the Cowboys. Cowboys shouldn't overlook them. But after what the Cowboys have done to the Giants twice this season, and after the Commanders struggling with the Giants twice and losing to them, twice, both times this season they've lost to the Giants. First time was Daniel Jones. Second time was DeVito.
Maybe that's the throw, though.
Come on.
Maybe that's how you do it. You lose to the teams that you're supposed to beat.
Yeah,
that's how you throw and get a worse pick.
Maybe that's how you do it. You get a better pick in the draft, so good for them. But man, we were a Commanders pod for so long, and this should have been a great game to talk about. But I mean,
the game
Thursday in Dallas, I expect the Cowboys to try to put on a show. But I'd see Sam Howell fantasy wise. If we're just looking at fantasy aspect of it, I don't see the Commanders really having any issue putting up, their typical fantasy numbers.
Just because of volume. They're going to continue
That's
to volume it
They're
out.
going to have to.
That's
There's
interesting.
no other
That's
option.
interesting.
The other thing I want to bring up is Tony Pollard, fantasy-wise. He finally had a good game last week against the Panthers. Substandard, they were beating him the whole time. There was never any doubt. And Tony Pollard broke out a big one and got some decent work. So this should be another one of those situations. Commanders shouldn't be able to keep it close. They're just going to... Also, what we're saying is that they're going to still pass for 250 or 280 yards. Like, they're still going to... I mean, Brian Robinson's probably going to get
stuff
7
down.
or
Deron
8
Bland
targets.
is taking a pick every game.
We'll see.
Like-
He took 2 to the house last week. We get it.
2 to the house?
Yeah, I mean, that's life. That's how it goes.
I wouldn't want to
sometimes.
throw against that guy. I mean, they're doing that without Trevon Diggs. Next man up, baby.
Oh, Bland's playing out of his mind right now.
He has tied. He's 4 touchdowns on the year as a defensive back, which is the most that anybody's ever had in the NFL. Tied. If he gets one more pick six, he'll have the record on his own.
We also the Cowboys are suffering another. They suffered another injury at cornerback in the beginning of the year. It was like a rookie, and he's like 6'6".
Oh, you're saying besides Diggs, like besides
Yeah,
Diggs,
he's a starter for us, and he was a rookie, and he got hurt, and so like we're really down men, but like they're pulling through.
Now another starter going down for a team, Seattle Seahawks, losing Geno potentially. I don't think that he'll play Thursday. Like, if he's a little bit banged up, they're probably going to play it safe. They're playing Seattle, or San Fran, which is a divisional opponent, which can be really, really rough for them to lose that game, especially if they're trying to make the playoffs. Luckily, they play in the NFC. So there's a good chance that they're still going to be able to make the playoffs. They're a top team. DK is turning it on, so maybe Drew Lock can be the savior that, that the 12th man needed. He's the 12th man.
It's insane to me with Drew Lock projected. I would assume Drew Lock starting that game. That San Fran right now is only a 7-point favorite. Now I understand it's in Seattle, but if Drew Lock is the starter,
he's gonna have Chase Young
now,
and Nick Bosa chasing him around.
Has it been confirmed Drew Lock is starting this game?
No, but he's
stating
starting reps in practice right now. He's preparing to be the starter, which is a big indication.
As soon as it's confirmed, I would project that to absolutely move.
So you take San Fran -7 at -104 right now.
I slam that right now.
Yeah. So
I want to slam it right now.
Well, this line might have moved by the time you watch this episode. We might release this one a couple days early just because of things like this. But yeah,
Purdy is looking lights out with all his weapons.
Perfect
back.
QBR, 84%. Ayuk looks like he just is the play action pass king. I mean, 75.
Everybody healthy. They're just firing on all cylinders right now.
Yep.
Do you guys know that only 2 quarterbacks other than Purdy has done this for the San Francisco 49ers?
Oh, who's the other one?
Montana
and Steve Young.
Hey. So that's
Jeff Garcia would have been literally my only other guess.
No, Alex Smith. No.
Alex Smith wasn't like as great of a passer.
I was just kidding. He's efficient. That's what only thing.
I was looking for like the nice way to put it. Like he wasn't Kirk Cousins, but like
yeah, he's an efficient guy.
That is a great way to put it though. He's like a Walmart Kirk Cousins.
Now, talking about a Walmart Brett Favre, we got Gardner Minshew.
If anything's been a Walmart branded person, it's Gardner Minshew.
That was I didn't even
all
make
the
all
respect in the world.
Now, last week that he played before the bye, he played New England, and he had a bad week. But he doesn't have to play New England this week. He gets to play Tampa Bay.
In across the water, across the pond, that was in another country.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a very good call.
Like I don't like to take that game into consideration for anybody who plays over there.
Yeah, they also won the game, so there's something to say about that. that
Yeah.
that's kind of what he's there to do. It's not to make our fantasy teams awesome, but this week against Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay's offense is going to put up points against Indy's defense, and he's going to have to respond. He's got Josh Downs potentially fully healthy. He's coming off of a bye with another half a week. I think that he got taken out the week before. Whenever they played New England, I want to say that he started the game, but he didn't finish the game, and that sounds right. We're gonna go with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm big
Sounds
on
right
Gardner
to me.
Minshew. I'm actually starting him this week over Kenny Pickett because I think that he's better than Kenny Pickett and has more opportunity to be good compared to Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. He's been much better than Kenny Pickett, and he's actually not afraid to do it with his legs either.
Very good call.
Well, also typically, whenever you're, especially like red zone or Sunday ticket, like you're watching the guys that like you have fantasy investment in. And so I would much rather watch Gardner Minshew than watch Kenny Pickett. So that's where my brain would go as well. Like I'm just
Kenny-
gonna pick him up for that purpose alone.
Kenny Pickett's scared to throw it over the middle of the field. He'll only throw it towards the sidelines.
No, I think this is the season to where, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter being in like their second season, it's okay. They might not have it. Like I said, you never really want to write them off, but they haven't shown not like any flashes of like one game to where they just explode. Like hell, they haven't given us one CJ Stroud game yet, not one, in their two seasons.
Exactly. Which I think is because of the way that Tua developed, I don't want to be harsh on quarterbacks too early. But the fact is that even Tua had a couple of pop games
That's
with
what
2 or
I'm
3
saying.
touchdowns. Like if they're not showing even flashes, then what are we waiting for? Move on.
Yeah.
And those
Get
are
somebody
those
that'll
are
show
two
flashes.
teams that I think are interesting with the coaching with Matt Canada and the coaching with the Falcons.
Matt Canada needs to get the
Rule.
absolute just exit to the door immediately.
Yes, please. Yeah, I
Just
don't know
the
how it hasn't happened yet. I mean, there's been chants across stadiums across the world for weeks and weeks and weeks about this guy. I don't know how he has a job. Don't know how he hasn't killed himself. So
now somebody
on.
that's used to getting chance in a different way, Matthew Stafford. I want to know what you guys think. So Matthew Stafford threw the ball 31 times last week. I think if Matthew Stafford's injury was to a point where, I mean, they won the game, right? But he still threw the ball 31 times. He didn't look great throwing the ball. He got Cooper Kupp hurt because he put the ball in the wrong place, and he kind of, and I don't know.
on.
He plays Arizona this week. Arizona's the 9th most quarterback points so far this year. So in all reality, he should have a great game. He's available in 47% of leagues. So in a lot of leagues, you could stream this guy. What are you guys thinking about Week 12? You starting Matt Stafford
Divisional
if you have to?
matchup. Yeah, I like it. If
Joe
you gotta
Burrow
fire
got
him up.
hurt.
Puka's been eating for him. So, I mean, that's your saving grace over there. They do get a lot of end zone work with the running backs, which I don't like for the Rams and Stafford. So on that point, I would like to pivot to another option. But if you need a guy, Stafford, fire him up.
Yeah,
He's
well,
like a
especially with
less
Burrow
mobile
getting
Joe
hurt
Burrow.
and Deshaun
Yep.
going out for the season, and there's just been so many injuries. Stafford, he probably is a solid play now. Cup, if Cup's out for the season, then that's definitely going to take a hit more to Stafford than anybody else, because if Cup's out, the longer he's out, Puka is
who's
going
coming
to
back?
back to the star that he was, and that also means Tutu Atwell might have some value.
You forget about Kyron Williams, who's coming back this week. I
Well,
think that he's
Kyron
going to
was
go
gonna
back
have
to
value
20,
regardless.
25,
Yeah.
30 points. He might see like prime Eckler type of production where he's getting 15 to 25 looks at the type of efficiency he's been doing. I mean, that is all that we're looking for. Ride that to the fantasy playoffs. I think he could potentially be a league winner if you've got him. We'll see, though. Like, He could end up being nothing, but I'm very excited about him. Another one that I'm very excited about, wide receiver DJ Moore finally got his best friend back. And instead of going 5 for 58 on 9 targets like he did last week, he went 7 for 96 and a touchdown on the same 9 targets. So it's not like he's getting the ball any more or less, but the efficiency is already picked up with Fields being there compared to Taysom Badgett. So I'm all about some DJ Moore. He's got Minnesota this week, who's eighth worst against wide receivers so far this year. But what do you guys think?
You said
Yeah,
Minnesota?
he's proven the
DJ
last
Moore.
few weeks that he's kind of, it doesn't really matter what quarterback it is that's in there for him. So I fire him up. I mean, you also kind of, you're not going to expect, the 3 touchdown game that he put up earlier in the season by any means. But to me, I do think he still gives you continuous value each week, no matter who the quarterback is.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's not someone I'm too excited about. Like, he's like, plug him in if you have him, but
I disagree. I think that he went from a flex play to a wide receiver 2 this past week. I think that he's going to get the elite production. I think that he is basically a running back that plays wide receiver. He's hard to tackle. He's a great player. He's going to get fed on his team. I think that DJ Moore has a lot of promise moving forward. I mean, I might be standing here because I own him, saying all these things more out of hope than anything else. But like I said, the same amount of targets week 1, week 10 and week 11, the production changes because of who's throwing him the ball. And like we said earlier when we talked about Justin Fields on the recap episode, his legs is what allows him to have the value and like the threat that he's going to throw it. The 110 yards from him with 96 yards passing, receiving for DJ Moore, I think that they're a lot linked. Next one we're going to be talking about Mike Evans. Mike Evans has Indianapolis this week, and at the same time I want to talk about Godwin because Godwin also has Indianapolis. Godwin over the last 2 weeks has 6 targets and 7 targets. He's only put up about 9 points in half PPR leagues. Evans with 10 and 12 targets has 26 and 15. Now, Godwin also has 4 catches and 6. They're not really catching many of these targets. Honestly, it's crazy that they're getting targeted so much because they're needing to. But what are you guys thinking about these two players? Are you starting either of them in week 12 or moving forward?
it's been hard to start Godwin. He hasn't really been getting fed. Um, Definitely Mike Evans. I mean, he's shown you he's sort of like been playing a Keenan Allen type role, which is nice to see from him. Because he's such a big receiver, so it's like I don't know, it's weird to see him playing in that way because we've seen him just as a downfield threat. But now he's just getting targeted and getting fed in the end zone, in the middle of the field. Like, Baker trusts him, so you got to fire him up.
I agree with what you just said. Baker does trust him. He also has a touchdown the last 2 weeks, 143 weeks 2 weeks ago, whenever they played Tennessee. I mean, he's getting the production.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is it's with Baker and that team, they're never in a game to where they're just up by a million. So it's just feeding Rashad White out of the backfield all game. They're getting enough work to where that offense, honestly, all around is kind of just fantasy relevant. Like each player, even Baker in some, just some weeks, and they're all fantasy relevant. So, I mean, no, you're not expecting huge games out of him. Mike Evans, to me, has been a bit of a disappointment. Godwin, to me, is more of he's just not having as much opportunity as you would expect. But I still fire him up in my flex, like both of them feeling good about it.
I think Rashad White is to blame for Godwin's lack of targets. That Rashad White's been getting so much work out of the passing game that's been digging into the work that Godwin would have normally gotten because it's kind of ramped up throughout the season. just like as things have been going on. Before the season started, a lot of people expected Jalen Waddle to be the 1B receiver behind Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill is going for a record. And in a lot of ways, it looks like Tua is behind that train. Like, let's get Tyreek this record. No matter what, I'm feeding him the ball. He's always open at some point. Even if he has to run back 10 yards to make it an extra two, he's got the speed to do it. So let's just keep feeding him. Jalen Waddle had 8 targets, 4 for 55. I feel like all 8 of those targets came after Tyreek Hill went out with that hand injury.
Yep.
I know you own him, Justin. He plays the Jets this week, and then he has 2 easy matchups, and then he ends the season off about as rough as you can get with the Jets, Dallas, into Baltimore. What are you doing with Jalen Waddle moving forward?
I mean, for me, he's still a guy. As long as he's active, you're still at minimum throwing him in your flex play just because of the big playability. And we saw when Tyreek went out and there was that little scare when he went out, they immediately started feeding Waddle. He got 3 to 4 touches right away.
Yep, instantly. Boom, boom, boom.
So because of that, for me, I mean, it's not really worrying too much. His season overall has been a kind of a disappointment just compared to what his first 2 seasons were.
Yeah.
And I do think he's been another one of those players, kind of like I mentioned with who did I mention earlier that was going out almost every other play with an injury? It'll come back to me later. Anyways,
Odell Beckham.
yeah, Odell. Thank you. So calling that back to Odell, like to where it's just every so often within games you're seeing them go out for some plays. So it's things like that that kind of just sketch me out a little bit about it.
So
But
question
then
then.
again, I'm not too worried.
So Jalen Waddle is on the same level as Odell in your mind. They're a flex play. They're kind of risky with a boom potential, but like you're not expecting it. Their offense could give the ball to anybody at this point besides them. They're not necessarily getting fed. Like they're kind of on that same level.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you're seeing that Tyreek is just getting so many more targets than Waddle is right now as well. Like Waddle's still getting, 6 to 7 targets a game, but Tyreek's getting 10 to 12. Whereas last year it was a little closer between the targets on the two of them. So like I said, I'm not too worried about it, but it is something to where, it's starting to get sketchy, especially in these games to where they're not necessarily having a good matchup.
You would think he's more wide open because of Tyreek taking so much away from, like, you would think he would just be sitting there in the middle of the field wide open. You just dump it off to him constantly. But
It's like
I
I
have
said,
yet to see him do that and just take off.
it feels like they're intentionally feeding Tyreek going for the 2000. Like Mike and Tua and Tyreek are all just on board with it. Let's make sure that this happens. We can do it. They know that they can. Like they know that they can do it if they put their minds
It's
to
like
it.
they're
So,
going for that more than a Super Bowl.
no, they're not. I disagree with that completely. I think that that's why they didn't go for another touchdown or kick that field goal. Like they care more about winning football games, but they know that Tyreek's going to be a huge part of the offense, and they're definitely funneling it towards him if he's open, which he is always open. So I think that that's going to do it for us. Make sure to go on Friday for the Friday with the fans. We're going to leave you with one more episode so far this week. And like, comment, and subscribe down below. We'll see you later. Peace.
Toodaloo.
Deuces. 2 episodes.